Hey guys, first Regardsman here, and I'll be talking about patch 14 and year 3 for Space Marine 2, suspected release dates, and more info we have on the upcoming boss, heroic weapons, and when we can expect balance changes to classes like Vanguard. We'll also be going over some of the new cosmetic options coming to the game, and things I would personally like to see in the future. Now, we just got the June community update from Focus Entertainment a few days ago, and this gave us way more info than I really expected on not just patch 14, but the year 3 plan as well. They've also confirmed that we will not be getting another community update until August, so I wouldn't expect any major info drops for year 3 until then, and we'll also probably get the year 3 roadmap around that time. We also got confirmation the other day that patch 14 will have a public test server, unlike patch 13 that got shadow dropped at Warhammer Skulls. This is supposed to come out around early July, which should put the official release of patch 14 around late July to early August. This would also line up with the patch 9 release we had last year after the patch 8 siege mode update, and patch 14 is also meant to be a much smaller patch than the previous Tech Marine and Purgation update, and it's also meant to be the final patch of year 2, which has been a significantly better year of content than the prior year 1, at least in my opinion. We also now know from Focus that patch 13.2 was the final hotfix for the Purgation update, so all the bugs we currently have, like the crack and penetrator rounds applying to burn and plasma damage, are here to stay for at least another month. The only major things coming to this patch are for new heroic weapons I'll talk about more in a bit, but the first thing I want to talk about here is the new boss. Now, we finally got confirmation directly from Focus that this is in fact going to be the previously data mined Chaos Terminator Sorcerer that has been making the rounds in the community for months now. This will also be the first and potentially only boss for the next year that will be a randomized mission spawn. It is supposed to be added to every single existing Chaos operation, and this should include things like the double faction operations with Purgation and Vox Liberatus. Most of this thing's moveset is already known from prior data mines. We did actually get some new information from the Focus community manager. This boss will have a laser beam. Yeah, I know, a Chaos Sorcerer with a laser beam. Who'd have thought? I've also had a lot of people ask me, how is this boss any different from the other sorcerers and terminators we have in the game already, and that really just comes down to the lore of the Thousand Suns, which is that after an unfortunate warp spell cast by their greatest sorcerer Armin to prevent them from all mutating into Chaos Spawn, the majority of the Chaos Legion was accidentally turned into living dust automatons as a result, with the strongest psychers in their legion instead becoming even more powerful and able to command the rest of their now Confetti Legion in battle, which are the majority of the enemies we see in the Chaos faction in-game. The only Thousand Suns Marines that are actually flesh and blood with gene seeds that we see in-game from time to time are the Sorcerers and the soon-to-be released boss. However, the Scarab Occult Terminator Sorcerer that we're getting in patch 14, these are the squad leaders of Scarab Occult Terminator units, like the ones we already have in-game with the missile and power stored guys. So their major function is to support these other Chaos Terminators, and it does have me wondering if one of the abilities of this new boss will be to resurrect the Extremis Terminators themselves rather than just the Rubric Marines, on top of their other data mine abilities for warp tornadoes and things like cloning themselves, which all sounds pretty diabolical to fight against if you ask me. And personally, did I really want to see a Chaos Terminator Sorcerer added to the game as the first major boss addition to the randomized Chaos roster? Not really. I would have preferred something along the lines of Exalted Pink Horrors or other Demons of Tzeentch, since contrary to popular belief, we don't actually have a single true demon in the game currently. Zangors are just ugly-ass bird beastmen, and even the Mutalith Vortex Beast, despite coming directly out of a warp portal, is not a true demon, it's just a warp-mutated abomination. But let me know how you guys feel about the confirmation of a Chaos Terminator Sorcerer being the new boss. Is this what you want to add to the game, or do you want something completely different? On the note of new bosses though, we did get the reveal from Focus that year 3 will include not just one, but 2 new operations with on-mission bosses, just like we got with year 2. And I suspect this will also be split between Chaos and Tyranids once again, like we have the Vortex and Reclamation operations, but hopefully this is where we will finally see a true demon boss fight with something like a Tzeentch Soul Grinder. And maybe the Tyranids will get something like a Psychophage or Tyrant Guard, which would be a pretty cool thing to see in game. Now, as for other things we got reveals for, Focus did come out and give us 3 of the new heroic weapons coming in patch 14. There's a bit of a Death Watch and Salamander focus here. The standout weapon for me is the new Burning Blade Power Sword, which is the second heroic power sword after the Xenophase Blade in patch 10. This is obviously for the Salamanders chapter, like we've seen since patch 12. Saber has been moving towards chapter-specific heroic skins and weapons after updating the customization to allow you to swap their actual skins across relic tier variants. As for the heroic effect this weapon will have, I think this one is pretty self-explanatory since it is a burning blade, and burn effects are one of the only major stats effects in Space Marine 2 currently, and something that Saber's been tossing on everything they can, it seems. Focus has also previously said they would be adding more heroic weapons with stats effects like burning and potentially bleed plus shock as well, so this seems to be the first step towards that. The other heroic weapon we got reveal for was a Stalker bolt rifle with a Deathwatch skin. I'm curious what the heroic effect on this one will be, since so far most of the ranged weapon heroics have been a fire rate, ammo change, or damage increase, and the final heroic weapon we have 100% confirmed from data mines is the Heroic Inferno Combi Power Fist that we had leaked images for a month ago. This is also the only one we actually have info on the heroic effect for, which will incorporate gun strikes, similar to the previous Death Grasp Heroic Power Fist. Now, Focus also came out and said the patch will include 3 melee and 3 range options for the heroics this time around, and one of the previous leaks was a new Heroic Thunder Hammer that is most likely coming with this patch. And that only leaves 2 new range options, and personally, I think one of these will be for either the Pyre weapons or Melta weapons, because Focus did also say that Salamander fans will be eating well this patch, and we also have confirmation that the Salamander's Champion Pack 2 is coming out for the heavy class this time around. And we'll also be including a new weapon skin for the Multi-Melta, which should make a lot of players happy, since the original Salamander's Champion skin we got in year 1 was for the Sniper class of all things, and gave us a Bolt Sniper Salamander skin, with Saber saying that this new skin was then making up for the lackluster edition they had in year 1, and we also got some more information on the new Raptors cosmetic set that is coming with patch 14 as well, with Saber saying it will include a helmet, chest piece, 2 pauldrons, and a cloak that is presumably only for the Sniper class. And aside from the actual DLCs, patch 14 is set to bring us 6 new heroic cosmetic items, and this is where things get a little hard to predict, because there were data mines for stuff like Deathwatch armor, which would make sense to drop with things like a Deathwatch Power Fist heroic, but Saber also came out and revealed that we will finally be getting the much requested Deathwatch Champion skin in year 3, so those cosmetic leaks could be tied to that instead of anything in the heroic store. But we also have not had a heroic store chest piece in almost a year, and the leaks for this one look like 1 or 2 armor pieces, which does kind of make me think we'll be getting this one as a standalone heroic store purchase. We've also had leaks for a Victress Guard champion for ages, which has seemingly been drip fed to us through Twitch drops in the heroic store with patch 13, where we got a Victress Guard helmet and a Twitch drop for the gauntlet. So I imagine we'll also be slowly getting the entire set through heroic store items, and maybe even the ultra grind ordeals. The one thing I really want to mention here for champion skins is that Saber did tell us that patch 15 with year 3 will have a new Space Wolves Wolfguard champion set for the Bulwark class that will also be getting a round shield, which is something I've wanted for ages, since I was just not a huge fan of the Vanguard Wolf helmet and just the Phobos Space Wolves armor and cosmetics set we got in the first place. Hopefully we'll get some actual fur capes or cloaks in this one this time around, and getting a Space Wolf champion set dropping at the start of year 3 also gives me copium for a new heroic Frost Power Axe variant. Maybe that's wishful thinking, but like I mentioned before, Saber said they want to add more stats effects for heroic weapons, and having a Frost Axe that causes enemies to be slowed like Burn already does seems pretty easy to implement. And Saber has also made a huge push towards chapter-specific heroic weapons, so either way, I think Space Wolves will get an option like Salamanders, Blood Angels, and White Scars already do eventually. One of the other cosmetic packs confirmed for year 3 are for the Exorcist, which I was not expecting at all, and Focus has also previously hinted that Blood Ravens might get their own cosmetics or champion skin eventually, and if Blood Ravens are part of the year 3 plan, I would highly expect this to come out whenever Dawn of War 4 officially releases, since this year we saw Games Workshop make a huge push towards Adeptus Mechanicus releases for both Space Marine 2 with the Tech Marine class, and also new Skitarii class that got released in Darktide, right around the same time that we got the reveal and surprise release of Mechanicus 2 around the day of Warhammer Skulls. And them doing something similar with other major releases just makes a lot of sense as a push from Games Workshop. And the final thing I want to touch on here, and a big question the community has had for ages, is about the progression update that was completely removed from the year 2 plan. Space Marine 2's grind has been arguably the worst part for a lot of players. The prestige grind takes forever, it's not particularly difficult, and feels more like a time sink than anything, and as Space Marine 2 gets further into its life cycle, the amount of weapons and classes you have to actually grind to max level has gotten increasingly bloated, and heroic items all cost 200 accolades each, and even with the addition of the accolades to the siege mode, if we keep getting 3 to 6 new heroic weapons every single patch and a total of 2 heroic options for every weapon including new additions, it is going to start taking people legitimately months of max grinding accolades to get everything. So personally, I think a progression rework for XP at the very least is long overdue. And my worry is that the ultra grind ordeals and the war gear update we're getting the final expansion for with patch 14 was actually what they meant by progression update in the original year 2 roadmap, and I've been pretty outspoken about this. I think the leveling grind is the most off-putting part of Space Marine 2's experience for new players, and while some grind is definitely good to have in a game, I feel the biggest grinds in a game should be tied behind optional unlocks for cosmetics and stuff like that, and not just weapons or perks that in some cases are the only way to make certain builds even functional. And while some grind for just your general leveling experience is good, a good leveling experience should make the player feel continuously rewarded the entire time and not just be thankful it's actually over. But you guys can let me know what you want from progression rework. Saber did say that anything not on the updated year 2 roadmap was moved into year 3, so hopefully that includes the progression rework and it wasn't just the war gear update. And one of the other things that was pushed back into year 3 will be the Vanguard changes, and that will most likely extend to the heavy and tactical perk changes they mentioned last month as well. But that is pretty much everything I want to talk about in this video, guys. Patch 14, despite being smaller scale, is sounding better than I initially expected, and year 3 especially could be even better than what we saw in year 2. We will probably be getting the year 3 roadmap in August, but until then, I will be covering the patch 14 public test server on this channel in early July. And if you like content like this and you want to watch me live, you can find me here on YouTube or on Twitch with a link in the video description. I'll say a link to my community Discord. I also want to say a special thank you to my channel members. Your guys' support has been tremendous and helps me make content like this. And as always, thank you for watching. Take it easy. Bye.